Big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Statistical mathematical fact
never has been down,
has broken every single record. There is no asset that has come close.
It's the only thing in the industry that was not touched, that was not hacked, and it never fails doing what it promised in 2009. It's never
What's
failed.
the best performing asset the world has ever seen? And you'll find out that it's Bitcoin.
Come on in, guys. Make yourselves comfortable. Come on in. Grab the beverage of your choice. I've got some tea here. Right. Grab something to maybe take notes with. We always cover things that you might want to remember. Take some notes with it. And listen, I've always been a very big supporter of really transferring what is from that ethereal part of your being, the mind, onto something that is concrete, physical, in spite of the fact that Bitcoin is not so visible, but transfer that valuable thing to something that can actually look back at you, and it takes on a different meaning in that regard. So, yeah, grab something to write with, grab some notes. Let me know where you're coming in from. While we're waiting for people to come in, guys, if you're familiar with any of my talks, I like to make sure that we've got like 300-400 people on before we start delving into the material, just to give everyone an opportunity to sort of participate right from the start. I know the vast majority of people will watch this as an electronic footprint later, but I do like to give those who really make an effort to participate live the full opportunity to participate and listen from the beginning. So I sort of like that. I appreciate that the most. So, all right. Illinois is in the house. I like it. Florida is here. Look at that. Miami's in the house. Spain is in the house. Australia's in the house. Wow. South Carolina, Vegas. I love it. Maryland is in the house. Look at this, man. We're an international audience. Oklahoma. Look at that. You see that? North Carolina, Uruguay. We cannot have an event without Uruguay. You know that. Look at Egypt. All right. You'll change my life, Baba Velez. I appreciate that, man. Egypt, Illinois. Yeah, man. Look at this. At a certain point, I can't do all of these, but Baltimore, Arizona, Albuquerque, Orlando, Arkansas, New Zealand, Colombia. I'm in Colombia now. Coming from India. Awesome. Great analysis of Bitcoin. Need your analysis on Ethereum or other coins. You're not going to get that. Just drop that bullshit. We'll get to that. Bitcoin only here, guys. Bitcoin only. All right. I love it. Whoa. I am Sautu from Zambia. I love it. Wellington, Florida. I just left Wellington. Yes. My daughters live in Wellington. They're in the equestrian world. Bogota, Colombia. Nice. I love that. Look at that. Arizona. I love it, guys. Vietnam is in the house. Woo. Look at that, guys. Look at the international audience. I find this quite amazing because, the fact that we can sit down and share live our thoughts, our ideas, our projections for the future, what we're going through, our experiences, was something that was scoffed at and unbelieved in just a little while ago. You understand? I just want you to understand, guys, that I know maybe some of you weren't even born at this time, but many of you were. But, the internet in all of its glory, the internet, the protocol that changed almost every aspect of our lives, really, in the United States, at least, only became legal from a commerce point of view in 1994 during the Clinton administration. And President Clinton's vice president was very instrumental in passing the law that made it legal for corporations in the United States to interact with the internet from a commerce point of view. Now, this happened in 1994. One of the main reasons I was then this is because it led me to leave Wall Street and start my own firm. I saw the potential in this new protocol, which many of my peers on Wall Street did not see, did not respect. But I saw it and left in 1994 to start my own firm in September of 1994. My firm became one of the go-to firms for all the firms that didn't believe in the internet to come to actually learn how to operate their trading from the foundation of the internet at that time, which is really crazy. In addition to that, all right, so it's almost like I'm reliving this revolution or evolution, depending upon your point of view, right? But I will tell you this, that the fact that we all can be together live from every part of the world, exchange ideas, our different points of views, and do it simultaneously was something that was never thought to be possible. And I see the very same thing being said about Bitcoin uniting the world from a money standpoint, because if you think about this, people, the internet did something quite revolutionary for the human race. It unified us from an informational point of view and from an educational point of view. So the internet collapsed books, education, information, movies, music. And that was a Herculean effort from the internet, right? To make music universally available. That was never heard of, because for a long time you had to go to a place, you had to be rich enough or privileged enough to actually have an invite to go to a small little lounge to see a live band in the past. And then there was vinyl. And vinyl made having access to that special musical group a little wider. So now people did not have to go or be extra privileged to go to a special place and have an invite to go to a special lounge to see a live band play. They could buy a piece of plastic and listen to it. And then that plastic became a set, an 8-track tape. And then that 8-track tape became a cassette tape. And that cassette tape became a CD. And that CD became something that you couldn't touch, an MP3 file, where we move from the physical to the non-physical. And from an MP3 file to streaming. When's the last time you've held an album in your hands? When's the last time you've looked at the picture? What's the picture on the album? Let me see the picture on the album. You don't hold that shit anymore. So, one of the things that I will tell you that I've been thinking about recently, and I had mentioned this before, is that I feel extraordinarily fortunate because I have lived through so many evolutionary processes. You know what I'm saying? So, like in the past, maybe you had to be lucky enough to be born in a certain generation to live through an epoch that changed the world. So maybe there was several epochs before you that didn't change the world, and you got lucky to be born during this epoch that brought something so revolutionary to the world that it changed everything. But I managed to live through a period of time where it was chock full of things that changed the world. Let me give you an example of this, all right? If I may. I hope you don't mind. If you don't mind me ranting here, right? So I lived through the personal computer era, the beginning of the gaming era, the personal computer era. And, I was born in the 60s. So in the 70s, the personal computer era was born. And it wasn't that the computer era was born, the personal computer era was born. This was the start of computers being made universally available to all human beings on Earth. You understand? And I watched the personal computer go to something that was just niche and special to almost every human being that was doing anything of significance in life for the planet had to have access to a personal computer. And then shortly after the personal computer era kicked off, there was the cell phone era that kicked off. Guys, listen, I had a friend, right, who we grew up together. Now, we took different paths in life, do you understand? I took the path where I wanted to be a Wall Street trading mogul. This dude wanted to be the biggest drug dealer on planet Earth. And we took different paths. We grew up together, and we grew up in a relatively similar socioeconomic backgrounds with similar families. I mean, he came from a great family. Ultimately became very good at what he did, actually. But I just remember this guy having two girls carry briefcases with them behind him. So everywhere he went, there were these two girls. And I remember meeting up with him one day after not seeing him for a long time and saying, "What's happening, man? Who are the girls?" He said, "Oh, they carry my batteries." So he had two girls that carry his batteries. This is in the 1980s, right? Two girls carry his batteries. What batteries for what? He said, "Oh, for my two cell phones." And he had these two monstrosities of a cell phone in the mid-1980s. They were like huge, but he didn't have one. And if you watch the Wall Street movie, Wall Street, you remember Gordon Gekko had one of those big giant phones. Well, this dude was bigger than Gordon Gekko. He had two of them, and he had two people to literally carry the batteries because the batteries for these things were huge. He had two personal assistants carrying batteries for two personal cell phones. I thought it was hilarious at the time. Anyway, my point is that I grew up seeing the smartphone, seeing the cell phone take over the world. Now, understand this. I watched the personal computer take over the world. I watched the cell phone take over the world. And I watched people poo-poo all of them. I watched people feel that the personal computer was a fad, that it was just for gamers and it would never catch on and business would never adopt it. I lived through cell phones being bad for cancer in your ear and that it would kill humanity and that no one would be using cell phones in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because everyone who uses them would have brain cancer and jada. I've lived through all of that. You understand? I lived through my own industry becoming democratized through technology and lower prices that lowered the barrier to entry on the part of the regular individual. So I watched Main Street infiltrate Wall Street through the personal computer and the cell phone. I watched books, which were a big part of my life. My mother was a librarian, assistant librarian. And so I lived part of my childhood life in a library. I watched books collapse to phones. I have more phones. I had more books on this phone than all the libraries that my mother ever worked in. I have more books. Just reading a book just before I got online here. You know? I read books on my phone and I have thousands of them. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's crazy, right? It's the book I'm reading. Okay. Didn't even show. Let me show you the cover. Shout out to Svetsky, the author of this book. What is that called? Thank you, Monsieur. The Bushido of Bitcoin. So I was reading this. I have more. The point is that I have more books on one phone, and I have many phones with me today. I have iPad. I have more books on my devices than all the libraries in my city, in my state, in the United States. So I lived through an era where books collapsed to the digital world. Information collapsed to the digital world. Movies. I built a personal movie theater in my home in the 1990s. And I remember scouring the country for the best movies to stock in my movie theater in my home. You don't need a movie theater in your home today. All that shit is digital. I built an entire wall to store them. The internet collapsed. Music, it collapsed. Information, it collapsed. Knowledge, it collapsed. Education, it collapsed. Photos. I have more photos here than any photo album you could ever find. My point is that I lived through an era where I saw and witnessed my own life the fact that everything is moving to a digital world. My photos left my physical world and went to the digital world. My movies left my physical world and went to a digital world. My music left my physical world where I had albums, cassette tapes, and DVDs and vinyl albums. It left that world and went to a digital world. I lived a world where what was physical in my world left me. It no longer lives in the world that I knew as physical and left for a different world. But the only thing, right? The only thing that the internet didn't accomplish, the only thing that the internet didn't collapse into itself, into the digital realm, was money. You see, it did movies, it did photos, it did music, it did books, it did information, it did education, it did knowledge. It even did your personal relationships, but it didn't do money. And so the internet had to pass the baton to its next generation, which was Bitcoin, to say, okay, I took care of music, I took care of movies, I took care of information, I took care of knowledge, I took care of relationships, I took care of photos. Now you go take care of the biggest thing on earth. Couldn't do that. It's your job to take care of money. Now, why is money, which Bitcoin is responsible for taking over, why is that the biggest thing? Because money, when you strip it of all of its, all of its esoteric meanings, when you lift the curtain and delve behind everything and really see it for what it is, money is the ultimate human interaction. Money is the ultimate ledger of human action, communication. Every action is money. Think about that. Every action that is worth recording is a human interaction is an exchange of value. I'm not talking about tripping over a curb. Like I was crossing the street, Oliver, I tripped over a curb. Should that be recorded on the Bitcoin network? No, I'm not talking about irrelevant bullshit. I'm talking about anything that is of value needs to be recorded as permanent history. And that's what money is. Money is nothing more than a ledger of important human shit. That's it. That's what money is. If the shit is important, it's money. If the interaction between you and me is important, that's what we call money. It's not a government piece of paper. It's a record of, I did this with you and I don't want it forgotten. That's money. We've lost this view, the quintessential pure view of what money is. It's just, I'm going to do this with you. And it needs to never be forgotten. And it needs for no other person to ever be able to change it, hide it. The record will last forever. That's pure money. The recording of important shit. That's all money is. It's a freaking ledger of human interaction. And so we've always had to rely on other men to record my action. Well, I did this with Mr. John over there. All right. Don't worry. I'll record that for you. Like, we should never have to rely on another human being to record our shit, to mark it down. Like, who are you? I don't need you to record the shit I do in life. What do I need to go for you and to seek permission for you to put it down? No. Bitcoin has come as the ultimate arbiter of true human history. For the first time, history can't be changed in the future. You know how they say that history is written by the victor? No, not anymore. Not with Bitcoin. Every human action that means something is going to be recorded on a time chain that no human being, no organization, no country, no nation state, no one can alter, change, hide in any way. History for the first time is going to be real. Human interaction is going to be recorded truthfully, and it's never been. We are not accustomed to seeing a world is special. We're so indoctrinated and used to the things that small groups of people have handed to us as being valued. We were told that certain things, we were told that real estate's valuable. We were told that bonds are valuable. We were told that stock markets and stocks are valuable. That's a taught behavior. You understand? By a small group of people who created something and said, this is valuable. But value should not be determined by a small group of people. You know, value should be something that the collective human society decides on collectively as a whole. And that's what's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is being gradually accepted as something of value intrinsically, organically. There's no organization that says, I hereby decree Bitcoin is valuable. There's no nation state that says, I hereby decree Bitcoin as the most valuable thing. No, it's gradually being adopted by all of humans to be recognized as this is what I consider value. Not what you say, not what you've told me, not what you teach me in your universities or whatever. It's organic and it's real. And throughout history, money has always been determined by the people. Governments have come in and created versions of what was decided by the people. But we've been indoctrinated today to believe that governments make money. Governments have never made money throughout history. You know? It's amazing. I appreciate that, Tarek. I appreciate you see it that way. This is mind blowing right now. Income taxes are done. Yes. I believe that we are approaching a world, people, where income taxes will just not apply to Bitcoin. I want you to let me paint something for you. Okay, this is going to be amazing. All right, let me paint something for you. This is crazy. This is crazy. I want you to understand that all things being equal, Bitcoin at 180,000, that's a stone's throw away from 95,000 today, right? Like, if Bitcoin doesn't greatly supersede 195,000, this would be very disappointing. Do you know, based on Bitcoin's history, that 195,000 by next year, I'm not talking years in advance, next year, that would be very disappointing for Bitcoin. And as most of you listening to me know, Bitcoin is far more valuable, far more scarce, far more adopted, far more accepted, far more clear in terms of regulations and so forth today than ever in the past. But if Bitcoin did not supersede 180,000 by next year, that would be the most disappointing period in Bitcoin's history. So let's just assume, rightfully so, that's not going to happen. We're going to greatly supersede 180. So here's my point. All things being equal, 180 Bitcoin becomes the most valuable asset on planet Earth outside of gold as a global asset, right? And who really knows what the value of gold is? It's not like there were accountants 6,000 years ago recording all the ounces of gold that ever came out of the ground. Oh, Oliver, wait a minute. You have some gold in your basement. There's a gold ring that your grandmother granted you. I know that. Let me write that down. Like, are you really kidding me? That number's bullshit. The gold number's bullshit. I don't even count that. We weren't around. Nobody knows. You can't sell me that. I'm not that dumb. I'm sorry. I was born early in the morning. I really was. 7 a.m. in the morning. But I wasn't born that early. I wasn't born early enough to be like, oh, Oliver, yeah, we know how much gold is on planet Earth. Really? You were there? Seriously? That's something that's sold to you. That's bullshit. So let's put gold to the side. We do know what the value of Apple and Nvidia and Google and Amazon, all things being equal, at 180 Bitcoin takes them all out. More valuable than all of them. Now, listen to me. The most valuable thing on planet Earth, happens to be Bitcoin next year. I am telling you that this is going to kick off a mad rush to appease a Bitcoiner. Do you understand how elite you are already? Maybe you don't even know this. You're already fucking elite. Like, you are going to be catered to like no one else in history has ever been catered to. You're going to have the most valuable thing on earth next year, 2020. I'm not talking like 2025. I'm talking 2025. 180,000. Bitcoin's going to blow that number away next year. You're going to own the most valuable thing on planet Earth. Okay, outside of gold. And the world is going to cater to you. The world is going to come to you. The world is going to beg you, look at me, look over here, come over here. The world is going to roll out red carpets. And at the end of those red carpets are going to be Dom Perignon champagne. Do you understand? And caviar. Come here with your Bitcoin. Countries are going to clamor for you to come here. No taxes for the next 10 years. They're going to give you instantaneous citizenship if you bring you and your wealth here. You don't understand what you're on the precipice for becoming and being for the world. This is the ultimate wealth transfer. It's the ultimate flip. You are the new elites. Every major era has the new elite. You're the new one, the Bitcoiner. I'm sorry. I don't care how much your shit coins go up, the XRPers or not, the Dogecoin holders or not. I'm sorry. That's not it. That's your distraction. Do you understand? There are people that know this, that do not want you to have Bitcoin, that will create a distraction over there to make you not clamor for it because they're clamoring for it. There are people who think generationally down the line and know that if they can have you not sniff around this thing called Bitcoin, if they can distract you with temporary gains here, there, whatever, while they gobble up so that you will never have an opportunity in the future to ever have this. There are people working on that right now. Now, I just pound the table. Don't get distracted. The casino will always be there for us, guys. We can always gamble on the micro strategies of the world. They're freaking a dime a dozen, and they will keep being created. I love Michael Saylor. I love MicroStrategy and what they're doing, but that's not freedom. Bitcoin's freedom, and freedom is disappearing. XRP is not freedom. Okay, you make some dollars, but listen, dude. I'm in Medellin right now, Colombia. Cocaine prices are beating XRP prices. Does that mean I should be changing my focus from Bitcoin to cocaine? It's freaking Christmas time. Do you understand the price increase here in this country for cocaine? So should I be scurrying away from Oliver? No, but cocaine is outperforming Bitcoin. Are you serious? Bitcoin is disappearing. This is your future. This is your freedom. The people who do not see this and do not understand this in short order, the ones that are chasing just dollars and do not understand the difference between government paper opportunity and real freedom, these people will regret this for the rest of their lives in short order. There is going to be a difference between those who hold real Bitcoin and a Bitcoin ETF. There will be a huge difference in life, in your status, between those who self-custody Bitcoin and those who holds MicroStrategy. Afford to get this fucked up and messed up. You can't afford to get distracted at this point because this is disappearing. I've been telling you it's disappearing from 16,000, from 20,000 to 30,000 to 50,000, now 90,000, 95,000, almost 100,000. And I'm not going to tell you anymore up to 100,000. Like, if you don't get it by now, what do I have to do? Nothing. You understand? Garshan has a question here. Let's take some questions here. Hey, OV, you often said that 2018 down, 2019 up. I didn't say 2000. Well, first up. 2020 up, 2020 big up. But looking at Bitcoin's 12-month chart, 2021 wasn't exactly a big up. Yes, this is true. So I think what Darshan is suggesting or asking is, I have a popular image that I send out all the time. And it's based on Bitcoin's mathematical 4-year cycle, right? Where it has 1 year down and 3 years up. And the last year of the 3-year up period is statistically the biggest year. Now, when I say, so I want you to think about this, and maybe I can bring it up for you, just so that you know what I'm speaking about. And let me try to do that while I'm speaking to you. But let me just say this. When I say statistically, I'm using that word on purpose. What I'm really trying to say is that not every year, every cycle, statistically, you can have a cycle that's off. So when I say that, for instance, statistically, every 4 years, we have a huge year, it doesn't mean that every 4 years you have a huge year. It's saying if you take most of the 4 years, you have a huge year. Now, what I think this person is talking about is the fact that, let me try to bring this up for you here, that in 2021, we did not have that exponential year. I could bring it up for you. Let me do this now. So let me bring this up for you so you know what I'm speaking about, because I think it's important to address this. And this is an error, guys, that I've been dealing with traders for 30 plus years, training them. I am in Colombia today because Colombia as a country sent me over 60% of all of their professional traders to train for many years before they invited me to the country. And I fell in love with the country, and now I'm here. This is how I know the country. I trained more than half of their professionals here in this country. And one of the issues that I have always is teaching traders that everything is probabilities. It's nothing is exact. You can't think exact. You can't say, but Oliver 2021. you have to look, if it happened 10 times and not, if something happened 8 times and not 2 times, do you understand what I'm saying? If something happened 8 times, but not 2 times, so you have a block of 10 times and you got 8 to 2, you don't point to the 2. What value is in pointing to the 2? You point to the 8. And you bet the 8 every time, because if that's the statistical probability, you're going to be right 8 times out of 2. But every novice in the world says, but Oliver, what about these 2 times it didn't happen? 2, you're going to point my attention to the 2 times it didn't happen and take my attention away from the 8 times that it happened? Like, how does that make sense? So I know that we don't have a lot of data points with Bitcoin. We don't. It's still a baby. But I've got to go with what has happened more often than not. I'm not going to go with what has never happened, and I'm not going to go with what has happened less than what has happened. And I'm certainly not going to go with what has never happened. So this is where people come to me and say, but Oliver, what about this? And that's never happened. And I'm like, why would you even want to focus on what hasn't happened? Why create shit that has never happened and place importance on what's never happened? Why not place importance on what has always happened, or what's happened 8 times out of every 10 times, or 9 times out of every 10 times? Why not focus our attention on what happens more often than what doesn't happen versus what has never happened or what happens very rarely? And I'm telling you, one of the major reasons traders lose money almost 98% of the time is for this reason. They focus on shit they create in their minds that has never happened. I can teach them that, listen, this happens 92% of the time. But Oliver, I found one instance where it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, so, and that's 1 time out of 15 times, dude. Why are we focused on that? People want perfection, and perfection doesn't exist in the human experience. What exists is probabilities, high probabilities. And so let me show you this so that we can tie in what we're talking about here. Let me show you this here. Okay, so if we look at this, all right, I'm going to take this comment off. Majoring in a minor, yes. So you see, Bitcoin is the closest thing we have to mathematical certainty, right? So you see the mathematical, almost algorithmic, programmatic certainty. Up 2011, up 2012, up 2013, up, big, down. Then 2015, up, 16, up, 2017, up, big, down. 2019 up, 2020 up. Now, in reality, and our friend is right here, 2021 was the non-year that wasn't up big. It was up. It was up 21x, people. I want you to think about this. So when we say that, okay, Bitcoin failed in 2021 to be up big on its 3rd year of the cycle. But when we say it failed, it was up 21x. That's a failure. 21x is a failure. I'll take that failure. But it did fail to be up in comparison, big in comparison to its prior years. Now, let's go back to this image. I'm going to show you this because this is important, right? So then we have down year 2021, and then 2023 is the up year, first up year. 2024, which we're completing now, is the up year. And if you look at the pattern where the third year up is the big one, you do not want to miss the third year up, people. 2025 is the mega year. The people selling Bitcoin now, preventing it from surpassing Bitcoin 100,000, they're idiots. They have not done the work. They don't understand this, that this is the worst time to be selling Bitcoin. Before the mega year in its history, which is the third year of the bullish 3-year cycle. All right. So 2026, okay, sell. But if I wouldn't suggest that either, but if you must, don't sell it now based on the historical pattern, right? So my point is, now that you get this, 2021 sort of failed with the up being the biggest, the third year being the biggest up year. And in my opinion, there's a very powerful reason for that. And it was the China mining ban that hit the hash rate. So guys, look, nothing really hurts Bitcoin other than when you attack its hash rate. You can write article after article, that doesn't matter. You can pass law after law. We ban Bitcoin. We ban the letter B because we think that the letter B stands for Bitcoin. So from this day forward, no citizen of our country will ever be able to use the letter B. I don't care. Bullshit like that. It's not going to do anything. You can pass any law. You can speak from any freaking podium. You can have any politician claim that they're going to attack, but none of that shit matters. The only thing that matters, you attack its hash rate. Now, China's mining ban hit the hash rate, meaning that a zillion miners unplugged from the network. The hash rate dropped. This cut the price by more than 50%. Price ultimately follows hash rate. But it's always temporary. So if you think about this, and I'm going to try to show you what happened here in 2021 so that you understand. This is something that I usually just show my traders guys, but I'll share this with you. All right. I'm about to be gone anyway, but I'll share this with you. So I'm going to show you this. And this is very powerful, by the way. And you're not going to see this from a lot of places, but I'll show it to you here. Watch this. So check this out. Smoke on this. Okay. So I'm gonna even make it bigger here. So what I want to do is I'm going to take Bitcoin and show you from, can I do it from a perspective? No, this is not right. Let me see. Run. Maybe I search from a week's perspective. Yes. Okay. So here is the 2021 period, right? So I'm going to show you this. This is very important. Take a look very carefully here. So I want you to look at where you are right now in relationship to last cycle. So you're here, which is why I'm saying the next year is the big year, 2021. Okay? So we just broke out the same way that I'll show it to you. That was last cycle. Now look at this cycle. We just broke out, guys. Understand? We just broke out. right on time. Yes, same. So what you're looking at is the same period. Just look. Let me show you. Let me point right down to it. Let's point right down to it so you see where we are. Right before 2025 and right before 2021. Bitcoin is maths. Do you understand, people? Do you understand this? It's never going to do anything differently. It's not like any other asset. Look at the symmetry. Look at the sideways action and then the breakout right before 2021. 4 years later, look at the sideways action and the breakout right before 2025. I've been saying this over and over and over again. Bitcoin is maths. I don't care what people write, say Bitcoin is maths. So look at where we are based on 2020 and late 2020 going into 2021. Now, what this person is saying is correct, that we were supposed to in 2021 experience the big up year. It wound up being a nice up year, 21x from the cycle low, 20.8x or 20.7x, something like that. But let's round it 21x from the cycle low. That's huge. No other asset class is going to do that. But it wasn't like we expected. But let me show you something very special here. Check this out. Watch this. Smoke on this. All right? Check this out. All right, watch this. You're going to like this, guys. I promise. All right? So, I'm going to take all this off and I'm going to show you that this is where the Bitcoin, the China mining ban happens. And we collapsed. See that collapse? That was a hit to the Bitcoin hash rate. Miners unplugged from the network, and the price followed. But then we gradually, not so gradually, actually overcame and moved to a slight new high. You see, this, can I do it differently? This was never supposed to happen. So I want you to take this up and put it on top of this up. And where would you have been? You see, this up should have been on top of this up. Do you understand this? But it had an interrupt. Let me do this again. I want you to explain. So this up should have been here. But it had to take a break and start from here instead of continue from there. If you take this up, did you understand? And you continue it from here, we'd have been 110 maybe. But we had to go all the way back because of the China mining ban and start again. You may not agree with this, but tell me if you understand my thesis here. A few of you let me know. I'm going to sip my tea here. I just want you to understand that we should have never dropped back from 64 to 28. We should have kept going. But the fact that we had to go all the way back from 64 to 28 and use the power to regroup, we didn't reach that high in 2021. Tell me if you at least understand the thesis. You may not agree, but tell me if you understand the thesis. You understand. Good. All right, good. You understand. So now, check this out. Smoke on this. Smoke on this. You're not going to have China bans every cycle, dude. That can't happen again. That's over. There's no China bans, dude. You're not gonna have China mining bans again. That's over. One and done. This cycle's different. What Bitcoin was supposed to do in 2021, I think it does in 2025 on steroids, because in 2025, Bitcoin is different from Bitcoin in 2021. In 2021, Bitcoin did not have regulatory clarity. In Bitcoin 2025, it does. In 2021, Bitcoin did not have institutional sponsorship with some of the biggest wealth managers in Bitcoin as the ETF managers. But in 2025, you have that. In 2021, you did not have FASB rule changes. In 2025, you do. In 2021, you did not have small nation states adopting it. In 2025, you do. You did not have countries mining it. In 2025, you do. You did not have countries like Russia or whatever making it legal for international trade. In 2025, you do. In 2021, you did not have all of these things. Bitcoin in 2025 is not Bitcoin in 2021, and it 21x off the low without that. What the fuck is it going to do with that? But Oliver, it takes a lot more money to move Bitcoin up. I get this, but this is the number one thing I get about this. But Oliver, at 100,000 Bitcoin, it takes a lot more money to move Bitcoin than it did in 2020 at Bitcoin 10,000. I get it. We've 10x'd, more than 10x'd. I get it. More money is required. But there are two things that I think this argument fails to address. Number one, there's fucking $900 trillion that's not yet into Bitcoin. Like, it's still nothing. 900 trillion. All right. But Oliver, there's 450 trillion in financial assets. Okay, 450 trillion. And we're at 1.8 billion, 1.8 trillion. Can you imagine 400 trillion fitting inside of a 1.8 trillion? We've got a lot more to go. Guys, we are too early to be thinking about the fact that, it requires too much money to move it up. It's still a freaking baby. That's number one. Number two, I will explain this. Scarcity. Bitcoin is going to, in my opinion, teach the world what true scarcity is. Do you understand? We've never had something truly scarce. We've had man-made scarcity. For instance, gold is man-made scarcity. It's like, okay, we don't have the technology yet to dig into mountains, to dig into the volcanoes because they're too hot, Oliver. But gold is there. Oh, Oliver, we haven't learned how to yet go to the bottom of the ocean to get to the gold there, but it's fucking there. In fact, 70+% of all of planet Earth is the ocean. And so we've only found gold in 30% of the ocean, and not even 30% because we haven't gone into the volcanoes, we haven't gone into the mountains, and we certainly haven't started searching for it in space. Gold is not fucking scarce. Our ability to get to it is just limited. That is a false scarcity. Bitcoin is real scarcity. I don't care what technology you come up with. I don't care if you can go to the bottom of the ocean. I don't care if you can fly out of the freaking galaxy. There's only 21 million that will ever exist. And probably 4 to 6 million of that shit is lost. Bitcoin is going to teach the world what true, not man-made scarcity, what true, real scarcity is. And scarcity is greater than money. Do you understand? Do you understand this? When 8 billion people, that is growing in number by 250,000 people a day, starts clamoring for this, you're going to fucking know what scarcity is, and nothing is going to stop that shit from going up forever. Forever. And some people say, well, Oliver, how can you confidently say forever? Nothing's gone up forever. And I'm like, dude, what planet have you been on? Because on this planet, everything's gone up forever. Am I wrong? Everything's gone up forever. Okay, the adoption of fire. We discovered fire for some people argue we've discovered fire in its utilitarian use case 4 million years ago. I know some of the Christians say that's bullshit, but whatever. I don't care. We're still adopting fire. It's going up. Electricity in its utilitarian use 600 some odd years ago. There are people who still fucking don't have electricity in their home. I have relatives that don't have electricity in their home. I know this. It's still being fucking adopted. Cars are still being adopted. There's 250,000 new human beings come on planet Earth and join our world every single day, net of all deaths, who will be new computer users, new internet users, new car drivers, new iPhone users, new Bitcoiners. Things grow forever on this planet. They get adopted forever. If they get to critical mass, when they get escape velocity, and Bitcoin has gotten escape velocity, it never, ever stops. Do you understand? There's no end to this train, people. Escape velocity is already done. There's no end. Don't let these idiots fool you. Oh, well, Bitcoin could go to zero. 81 worlds. That's like saying fire is going to zero, or electricity is going to zero, or cars are going to zero, or airplanes are going to zero. Guys, commercial air flight was brought into existence in the early 1800s. We're talking 1903, 15, depending upon which country you believe, right? So let's call it early 1900s. To this very day, only 1 in 4 human beings have ever been on a plane. We've had commercial air flight travel from 1905. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. And only 1 in 4 human beings and 250,000 new human beings come to planet Earth every day. Net of deaths. It's more, but if we cancel out the deaths, if we offset the births by the deaths, it's net 250,000 new people, 250,000 new potential plane takers in the future, 250,000 net new iPhone users, internet users, computer users, and Bitcoiners. People don't understand this. When something is proven and has achieved escape velocity, it never stops, ever, because the human race never stops. So when we talk about Bitcoin, let me just make it clear to you, it will never stop, ever. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your relatives say. I don't care what your banker says, your broker says, your best friend, your coworker. It will never stop, ever. It will never stop in your lifetime. It will never stop in the lifetimes of your children or their children or their children. It's forever. And there's something empowering when you understand that. There's a safety and security in that. It will be adopted forever like fire. Fire is not going to zero. But here's the beautiful thing. Here's the beautiful thing. We were never able as human beings to own fire. If a group of human beings could own a piece of fire, the human race, we were never able to, we were never given the privilege of owning fire. We were never given the privilege of owning electricity. We were never given the privilege of owning water, air, the internet. For the first time in the human experience, you and I can own the protocol that will control human value forever. This is the greatest opportunity in the history of human mankind, and you are fucking it up. But Oliver, XRP, you're fucking it up. MicroStrategy, I respect it, but you're fucking it up. But I should diversify. Diversify to what? What? To the losers, Oliver. Guys, I to be honest with you, Litecoin, Oliver, it's Bitcoin silver. Are you serious? Do you see the difference between gold and silver? That's the worst marketing thing I've ever heard in my life. Litecoin is Bitcoin silver. Dude, silver lost. What the fuck are you talking about? Silver lost. I don't want to be a loser. It's crazy, man. I will be very honest with you though. I will be honest with you. I'm tired. I really am. I'm tired. I think that I have done what I set out to do, because what I wanted to do, guys, is I wanted to catch the latter part of Bitcoin's downdraft and try to get people to understand this is the best opportunity that your life will ever have right now, between 25,000 and 16,000. I didn't know how low it was going to go when I started really pounding the table. But I started really pounding the table at 3,800. But I'm talking about in the last cycle's downdraft, I said, you know what? I'm going to really focus here. And I made a promise that I would do this until Bitcoin 100. And at that time, guys, so Bitcoin's at 21, 18,000, 19,000. People are like, you're an idiot. You're fucking a scammer. This and that. You're just trying to pump your bags. I'm like, dude, listen, I'm just trying to get people to just get Bitcoin, self-custody, and I will do this until Bitcoin 100. And people are like, Bitcoin's never going to be at 100, dude. You're an idiot. You're this and that. Here we are. What did we hit? 99,800? I actually was about to leave and say, that's good enough. But, you know, my team was like, Oliver, no, man, we got to hit 100,000. They're going to call you a scammer for real. But my point is that it's freaking tiring. I think that post Bitcoin 100,000, you can have a different type of person. And that's fine. Like, I did what I set out to do to popularize. I'm not saying I'm the only person that popularized 100,000, because a lot of people got upset with me when I initially said that. Like, when Bitcoin was at 16,000, I was one of the only voices saying, wait for 100,000. And like, Oliver, no, you can't take credit for that. Oh, no, I understand that. But I was pounding the table on that shit. It was that. And so what my point is this, that period's done. Now you should know from what happened from 3,800 to 100,000 that the shit's just going to keep repeating. And here's what I want you to understand and never forget. All of this happened with less than 1% adoption. I'm hearing some crazy numbers from even popular Bitcoiners that are like, we're at 10% Bitcoin adoption. What? Dude, we're less than 1% Bitcoin adoption worldwide. Where do you get 10%? I'm listening to some of the people I even have respect for say 6%, 5%, 10%. Where did they go to school? I mean, I'm no math expert, but like, we're not anywhere close to 5, 10% worldwide global adoption. And some people say, well, Oliver, how can you say that? I've heard big numbers like that too. I'm like, okay, so how many people in your family own Bitcoin? When I ask people that, they're like, nobody. Okay, okay, that's fine. How many neighbors do you have that own Bitcoin? Okay, it's fine. How many friends? Co-workers? People in your church? Your fathers on your kids' freaking softball or baseball team? You don't know anyone in your life that has Bitcoin and you're telling me it's 10%? Really? Dude, we're not even close to 1%, and Bitcoin has outpaced, conquered everything that human beings have ever valued or held dear with less than 1%. So I want you to understand this. Imagine where we're going to be at 5%, 10%, 15%. 30, 60%. We've already had escape velocity that will never stop being adopted. It will never be stopped. It will never be halted. It will never be confiscated. It will never be co-opted by a nation state. It can't. And we have 16 years proof now. So I think that Bitcoin is the safest thing you could possibly do today. It wasn't safe 10 years ago. We didn't have the history, but we've got the history now. It's crazy, right? I just my point in doing this was I just want to make sure, because I know a lot of people have listened to me regarding trading for the last 30 years, right? But after discovering Bitcoin, I'm like, okay, let me harness my audience and try to get them into Bitcoin. I think I've done that. So I'm done. It's over. It's over. Everything's not forever. All right. Greg says, thanks so much, Oliver, for doing all this. It's impossible to get this unbelievable and overwhelming message across all listeners. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. But guys, listen. Next year, we go to number 1. This is what Bitcoin has done every 4 years. I just want you to understand this before I leave you. Let me show it to you again. This is crazy, people. I want you to look at this. Look at how crazy this is. This is insane. saying what I'm about to show you. This is freaking insane. Bitcoin is the 7th most valuable asset on planet Earth. Look, this is all the planet, guys, look, I don't know about other planets yet. We have yet to do intergalactic travel. You understand? I'm waiting, but we have yet to do that. I don't know about other planets and I don't know about other galaxies. What I do know is this planet. And on this planet, on this green earth, Bitcoin is the 7th most valuable item in our existence. Now, in order to get to take out Apple, that's 180,000. I am telling you, people, 180,000, do you understand? That's a stone's throw away. 180,000 next year? We might be there by February. Bitcoin's going to number 2. Mark, no. That, to me, is absolutely certain. What's not so certain is, does it take out gold this cycle next year? It takes out Apple. It takes out everything else. NVIDIA flip-flops back and forth with Apple, Microsoft, or whatever. I don't give a shit. Bitcoin's going past all of that bullshit. The only question I have next year, I'm not talking about 10 years from now, next year, 2025. My only question is, does it have enough oomph to take out gold next year? It may. It may. You know? What did I think of Michael Saylor's presentation to Microsoft? I thought it was great, man. A lot of people focused on the address to Microsoft. And I looked at Michael Saylor's presentation more as an address to the world. Like, I don't give a shit about what Microsoft said, their opinion. That's bullshit. That message. Do you understand that every company in the world will see them? How do you not see that? Look at where Microsoft is in the world. It's number 4. How do you not watch that? How? Oh, you watch it, you study it, and you listen to what this dude says. To me, the bigger story is in every country. Every company in every country in the world will watch that man's 3-minute talk. That's fucking insane. Holy shit. Do you understand how huge that is? When was it possible ever for every company in the world to watch a single presentation? It's the first time in the history of the world, you know? So that's the bigger story. Not Microsoft. It's the world's. It's crazy, right? Wow. Wow. Let's see. We will miss you, but your recordings will teach a lot of people that you are born yet. Thanks for sharing this. I appreciate that. Yes, everything is going to be available for listen. And guys, I've done this with all of my content regarding trading over the past several decades. But certainly, once I got into Bitcoin, I'm very careful about what I put out into the world. I always going to make sure that it's evergreen. And what I mean by that is I don't like to talk so much about what is going on from a news perspective in this moment. I think now that content has some value, but it has momentary value. It doesn't have long-term evergreen value. So I try to focus on things that will have value. If you come back and listen to any of my talks 10 years from now, it'll still mean something and you can still learn something. And so glean something of value from those talks. I'm very careful about that. I try to be. All right. So anyway, guys, listen. I'm going to leave you now, but you know what to do. You need to go to work and you need to really understand that 2025 is the big one. If history's any guide, and it's truly the only guide we really ever have, 2025 is the biggest year of all before the next collapse. It is not what happened in 2024. It is not what happened in 2023. It's what's going to happen in 2025. It's going to shock the world. And this is historical precedent. It's not me pulling a prediction out of my ass. This is what Bitcoin does. All right. And so, Bitcoin is very different from what it was in every other cycle. And so, it does have the potential to do what it normally does, but do it on steroids. So it's always produced a third up year, the biggest up year on average, not every time, miss one time, but the biggest up year is the third year. So it has the potential to make the third year, 2025, the biggest up year, but it potentially can do this on steroids now. So I'm not canceling out a Bitcoin a million plus Bitcoin. I'm not canceling out an 800,000 Bitcoin. I'm not canceling out a 500,000 Bitcoin. Who knows? One of the things that I'm constantly pounding the table on is that you don't have to get the number right. It's fun to pontificate with the number.
My name is
but we
Oliver
don't need
Velez,
to get the number
and
right.
I am
The only thing we need
your
to get right is the direction.
13%
And I am
Bitcoiner.
telling you, as certain
Be safe
as
out there.
night
And until
follows
next time.
day,
Boom!
we've got the freaking direction right. So if the direction is up, it doesn't matter. Just stack harder, guys. All right, jump it out. Boom. I love you to death.